Hi, and welcome to Come Play with Meeples. My name is Joe, and today we are playing part 2 of The Gathering. Last time we left off, Rex and Agnes had just completed Act 1 of the scenario, and now we were going to continue on to Act 2. So join me, and let's get started. So then we get to flip the card to Act 1B, and it says, The Door on the Floor. You notice that the edges of your newly purchased rug are tattered and mud-stained. Finding this odd, you shift the furniture aside and pull back the rug. To your surprise, you see the door leading out of your study. You slowly turn the knob, and the door swings open, revealing your hallway below. You jump through the doorway, landing on your feet on soft dirt. The door to the study slams shut above you. The smell of burning wood fills the narrow hall, intermingled with the scent of rot and decay. So now it tells us, put into play the set-aside hallway, cellar, attic, and parlor. So that means we had previously set aside these 4 other locations. So it's telling us to put those into play. Okay, so we'll put them like that for now. Let's see if there's enough room. I want to be as close as I can, tight on the, so you can at least read some of the cards while they're in play. So I'll have to see how that works. So next it says discard each enemy in the study. Well, there was no enemies. Place each investigator in the hallway. So that means we take our 2 investigator tokens and we put them in the hallway. And then remove the study from the game. So we can say goodbye to the study, because there's no way for us to go back up into the ceiling to get in. So next we have Act 2, The Barrier. A glowing barrier blocks the path to your parlor. As you move towards it, intense heat forces you to back away. Picking up a handful of dirt, you toss it at the barrier and watch in horror as the dirt incinerates. Perhaps there's something in the cellar or attic that can help. Objective: when the round ends, investigators in the hallway may, as a group, spend the requisite number of clues to advance. So in this case, we can only do it at the end of a round, and if we're in the hallway with all the clues. So this means we do need 6 clues. We need to find 6 clues in order to know how to get rid of this barrier. So it's even advising us that we'd have to go to the cellar or the attic to find the clues. So we are in the hallway, and like I was trying to describe earlier, so that's the symbol for the hallway, and this here indicates that we can go to any of these 3 locations from here. So that means we can go to the attic, and from the attic we can go back to the hallway. We can go to the cellar, and from the cellar back to the hallway, and once we're able to, we can go to the parlor, and then from the parlor back to the hallway. But as you can already see here, from these 3 locations we can't go to each other. We have to go through the hallway. Okay, so let's read some flavor text. So we'll start with the hallway. A moment of panic and disorientation strikes as you land upon the floor of the hallway. The world spins as if turned on its head. So since we are at this location, we can flip this card over, and we can see it's got a shroud of 1, but there's no clues at this location. So the flavor text says, the walls of your house are splattered with mud, and your hardwood floor is gone, replaced with a dirt path. So that is where our investigators are. And we'll just read the flavor text on the back, because sometimes the flavor text can give you clues as to what to find at the next location. So at the cellar, we're still locked, and it says, the stairs lead down to your cellar are slick, and they glisten with a thin layer of ice. Well, that can't be good. On the attic, it says, trying to make sure that you guys can read this with me and trying to keep that glare off. The smell of rotten meat assaults your nostrils as you approach the attic stairs. And at the parlor, it says, the entrance to the parlor is blocked by a darkly glowing, unfathomable barrier. You cannot move into the parlor. You're unsure what would happen if you tried to cross the threshold of the strange barrier, but based on the extreme heat, you sure as hell don't want to try. Okay. So right now, that's why, because it says this here, we can't enter the parlor at this moment. Rex had already taken 2 actions and he's still left with 1 more. Well, actually, what we could do is use the shortcut to move to another location, and then at least Rex would have 1 action to do something if anything came up at him. So let me think about that for a second. Okay, so what I've decided to do is to use this shortcut card so he can move for free, because it says fast, play only during your turn, choose an investigator at your location and move that investigator to a connected location. So I have to discard that card, and I'm going to move him to the cellar, which means we can now flip over the cellar and we can see it's got a shroud of 4. There's going to be 4 clues here, and it says forced. After you enter the cellar, take 1 damage. So I now have to find a damage token. Okay, and that goes on to Rex. So then the flavor text says, your cellar seems to have been replaced with an underground network of icy tunnels and caverns. The cold chills you to the core. It also says victory 1. So what that means is if we make it that there's no clues at the end of the game on this card, then basically we get 1 more point for victory. These points can be used to upgrade the investigator's deck in between scenarios of the cycle. However, we're not there yet, so we just need to get 4 clues, put them in the cellar. That's Rex there. So this shroud level of 4 is quite high, so I'm almost tempted to use this working a hunch. It's a fast, which means a free action. Play only during your turn and discover one of the clues at your location. However, I might want to save this and maybe do it as the last one, just in case I need those symbols for another test. So again, he's got intelligence of 5 thanks to Milan. Against 4, I don't really want to use that way. So I think I'm just going to go with that, 5 to 4. So let's see what the 5 gets adjusted by. 0. So he succeeded and he found a clue. So after all that is Rex's turn. He did quite a bit this time. There he goes. So next we will go to Agnes's turn. And for Agnes's turn, I know it's not always wise to separate the investigators, but in this case, because here has a shroud of 4 and she's only got an investigation skill of 2, I'm not liking that. Plus, down here, she's going to get injured, and she's already got 3 of 6. So I don't really like to see her to go down to the cellar. So because of all that, I'm actually going to make them go in separate directions. And Agnes, for her first action, is going to go to the attic. So in the attic, we can flip the card, and here we can see a shroud of 1, so that's much better for Agnes. There's going to be 4 clues. So between the 2 locations, there was 4 here, and we need to find 6. So at least we know where the clues are now. So it says here, forced, after you enter the attic, take 1 horror. Well, that's not bad for Agnes, since she's got a mental strength of 8. So that's only 1 of 8. I can live with that. And now we need to find 4 clues. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was her first action. For her second action, I think she's going to get investigating. I'm just looking at her cards there, and I don't really see anything. I could use perception, but when it's 2 to 1, really, if she gets much of anything, she's going to fail anyway. So we can live with the -1. -1, there we go. So she did find the 1 clue. And for her third action, she's just going to do that again. We need to find these clues. So -2. So in this case, 2 minus 2 is 0 is less than 1. She failed. No clue. That's the only negative thing on this action then. Nothing else happens to her. So now she's exhausted. And now we would go to the enemy phase. But again, there's still no enemies. They're going to be coming very soon, I am sure. So now we can go to the upkeep phase. We flip our character tokens over. Ready any exhausted cards, which there are none. Each investigator draws a card and a crate. We always call it card and a crate, just CC. So each one gets a card. And then, so he drew his magnifying glass. So that's also a very good one for Rex as well. He will be very good at investigating if he decides to play that one, which he just might because it's a fast card. And for Agnes, we've got Arcane Studies. That could be good for her. Okay, we check our hand size. We have 4 and 5, so we're fine there. And now we go back to the top, the Mythos phase. So what that means is we have to place 1 Doom on the agenda. So that means now we have 3 of 3. So that means the agenda is going to advance here. So then, just like with the act, we flip the card over and we can see Agenda 1B, and then this one says a lapse in time. Your house continues to change before your very eyes. The walls have decayed and the ground in many rooms have turned to dirt. It is almost as if you have been transported somewhere else entirely, although every now and again you recognize elements of your former home. The lead investigator must decide. Choose one. Either each investigator discards 1 card at random from his hand, or the lead investigator takes 2 horror. Let's give Rex a second to think about that. Okay, so I've taken a moment to think about this, and to be honest, I could go either way. There's not really any card that I'm worried about protecting in their hands. At the same time, he's got 9 mental strength, so to take 2 horror at this point wouldn't be the end of the world. So I think that's what I'm going to do, more so because if we lose, say, something like this that could help with some tests, I don't really necessarily want to lose that. So I've decided I'm going to give him 2 horror. So I've got, these are the horror tokens, and I just add to Rex there. So next we go to Agenda 2, Rise of the Ghouls. The floor beneath you is giving way, and you see a vast network of tunnels twisting into the darkness below. Shapes and silhouettes of strange creatures move swiftly through the tunnels, trying to find a way out. You probably don't want to be here when they do. So this means now we have 7 Doom before we advance to the 3rd agenda. So that does buy us a little bit of time. And next, now we have to draw from the encounter deck, 1 card each. So again, I'll start with Rex. And Rex drew a swarm of rats. So basically, this is our first monster. These are probably the easiest monsters in the whole game. What this means is they have a strength of 1. So when he fights them, you see here how he has a strength of 2. So that would be the skill check that we're using against the 1. They have 1 hit point, so one damage, and then they're gone. And then if you try to evade them, they have an evade skill of 3. Okay. The hunter keyword means that if we were to evade them, then they could start hunting us and trying to find us and come after us again. However, that does put them in Rex's threat area, which I'll leave there for now. So they're engaged with Rex. And now for Agnes, for her encounter card, she drew Rotting Remains. Revelation. Test willpower, need 3 to succeed. Well, her willpower is, if you recall, 5. Dropping pieces everywhere. So she's looking pretty good there. However, just like that other one, as she fails, she'll take 1 horror for every point of damage. So let's hope we don't get the tentacles again. So we have 5 put that there. Hopefully you can still see that. So that puts us at 5-3. So maybe I will just leave it there at 5-3. Take my chances. -1, so that makes it 4-3, and she passes and nothing bad happens to her. Good. Now we go back to the investigator phase. So for the investigators, again, I think I'm gonna have Rex here investigate this location. So again, he's got a skill of, oh, nope, sorry. He's got a swarm of rats in front of him. So he needs to deal with that first. Because if he tries to do anything else, then the enemy will get an attack of opportunity, which means he's going to take 1 physical damage. The problem with that is he has only a skill of 2. He has no way to modify that. None of his cards allow us to help, and Agnes is way off in the attic, and this is the danger of separating out your 2 investigators. So he'll just have to take his chances, 2-1. And he pulls a 0, so he 2-1. He succeeded in defeating the rats. So that wasn't so bad. All right, now he can start to investigate here again. So again, he's got 5-4. For Rex's second action, what he's going to do is, right now he's got a skill of 4 + 1 is 5-4, so that's a little tight. However, he could play this magnifying glass. It has the hand slot. It's fast to play this. It costs 1 resource, so that's what he's going to do. It doesn't even cost an action. And that now puts it at 4 + 1 is 6. So his investigation is now 6-4. That's a little bit better. And he draws -1. So he gets another clue. So that was his second action. Now for his third action, he's just going to do that again. -2, so that puts us 6 -2 is 4-4. He still succeeds. So long as you match or exceed, it's a win. So that does leave 1 clue left at that location, which I'll just leave for the next turn, just in case. But otherwise I might play this at the start of the next turn just to grab that clue, because it's going to be a hard one to get. But for now I'm just going to leave that there. So Rex's turn is over. Okay, for Agnes's turn, she's stuck in the attic right now. So right now her investigation skill is 2 compared to the 1 shroud value. So that does make it a little bit tight. But I also like the idea of getting this arcane studies down. It's an asset. It's going to cost 2 resources. And what this allows is that she can spend a resource and get +1 on the mental, as well as spend 1 resource and get +1 on the investigations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 2 to get that down. And then for her first action, she's going to spend 1 resource to add +1 to the investigation. So at least for this one, it is a skill of 2 + 1 is 3-1. Ooh, skulls. Well, the skulls, that's not so bad, because it says -X. X is the number of ghouls at your location, and there's no ghouls at her location, so it is actually a 0. So that means she found a clue. So that was her second turn. For her third turn, she has no more resources left, so is play her emergency cash. It doesn't cost anything, it does cost a turn, and then she's going to gain 3 resources. So at least she's got some money. And the main reason why I want to do that is I don't like, I want to make sure that she's got some resources. So this lucky card she can play to get +2 to a skill after the draw. So I want to make sure that that's always available. So that's the end of the investigator phase. So I'll flip that over. Again, we look, it's the enemy's turn. There's no enemies. We got rid of the rats. So that's good. So we can skip the enemy phase and go straight to the upkeep phase, which means we flip over our tokens. ready any exhausted cards, but there's still nothing exhausted. Each enemy or each investigator can draw a card and a resource. That's over here. So for Rex, he drew another magnifying glass. Well, he could have 2 down. There's nothing holding that back, but I doubt that's what I'm going to play. However, it is good for the investigation symbols. And then for Agnes, she's pulled Enraptured. You see the card there? Okay, so that's going to go there. So now we go back to the top, the Mythos phase. So we have to add 1 Doom to the agenda. So that's now 1 of 7. And now each investigator gets 1 encounter card. So again, always starting with Rex, and he pulls Obscuring Fog, Revelation. Attached to your location, limit once per location. Attached location gets +2 Shroud. Well, this is not good for Rex's location, so that would now make it 6. Forced, after attached location is successfully investigated, discard Obscuring Fog. So then we just stick that right underneath the location card like that. And now for Agnes, she pulls a card. And she gets Rotting Remains. So I think this was the same one she had last turn. So she has to test her willpower of 3, and then for every point that she fails, she takes a horror. So again, her willpower is 5 to 3. Now we could use another one here, but I feel 5 to 3 is probably about as good as we're going to get. So she's got a skill of 5 in willpower against 3. So that just means a -2 or better. And since I have set this to easy, it doesn't look like, other than the fail card, the fail token, that this will be bad. So I'm just going to shuffle this up. 5 to 3. Let's see where it gets modified. That's the cultist again, which is -1. So that makes it 4 to 3, and she succeeds. So the Rotting Remains did not scare Agnes at all. She is very mentally strong. That's the character. So next we can go back to the investigator phase. And that's one thing I do like about this game. As bad as the Mythos phase can be, you haven't seen anything too bad yet. It happens quick and you can get back to your decision making. So now we're back at the investigator phase. Now every turn I've had Rex go first. But there's nothing in the rules that says that he always has to go first. In fact, we get to choose who goes first. In a 2-player game, then it doesn't matter from there. But if you have more than 2 players, then you have to go around the table from there. But on this turn then, I'm going to have Agnes to go first. Because I want to know, is she going to succeed at getting all these clues this time? I'd like to see her get all these clues this time. We do technically have enough clues that by the end of the turn, we want to be in the hallway, and then we can advance the act here, because as it says, when the round ends, investigators in the hallway may, as a group, spend the required number of clues to advance. So I do want to make sure that they're there by the end of this turn. I also want to try to get these victory points if I can. So I'm first going to get Agnes to go see, hopefully she gets those 2, and if necessary, then maybe Rex could move up to the attic to help her out. But I don't want him to waste turns if he doesn't need to. So therefore, I'm going to have Agnes go first. So for Agnes now, we have, again, investigating. She's got investigation skill of 2 to 1, but she does have this arcane study. So because I just know I'm going to pull the -2 if I don't do something, I'm going to use a resource to make her skill level now 3. So now it's 3 to 1. So again, unless I pull out that really bad token, she should succeed. 0. So she succeeds on the first one. And then because this time I think I will try to save my resources for now. I also worry about if I need this meat cleaver for some reason in the future. I'll use the perception to add 2 to her skill of 2 instead of using the arcane studies. So now she's got a skill of 4 to 1. So again, that should be good. And that is a success again. So she did successfully get the last clue. And now for her third action, she's going to move back into the hallway. So now she is ready for the end of the round to use up the clues. So now we're going to go to Rex. And Rex has a problem. If you remember the obscuring fog, it's going to add 2 to the shroud value, which is 6. 4 plus 2 is 6, which is very, very high. However, he's got a card up his sleeve, no pun intended, and that is working a hunch. It's going to cost 2 resources to play, but it's fast, so it's not even using up a turn. And it's play only during your turn, discover 1 clue at your location. So because I want that victory point, because the victory points at the end help you upgrade the cards in the investigator's deck. And like I said at the beginning, I have never actually won this whole campaign. And I figure maybe because I don't get enough victory points during the game, so I want to make sure that I get as many as I can, and this will be 2. So I will use the 2 resources to work the hunch. I discard that, and I basically get the clue. Now I do want to point out, if you remember on the obscuring fog, it does say after attached location is successfully investigated, discard obscuring fog. However, I did not investigate, I worked a hunch. So the obscuring fog will stay there, but it won't affect us because there's no more clues left, so we're all good there. So Rex still hasn't actually taken a turn yet, so for his first turn he's going to move into the hallway. So now he's also ready for the end of the turn, but he's still left with 2 turns left. So for his 2 turns, I'd really like to get a weapon, because monsters are going to come in this game. So I'm going, for my second action, I'm going to have him draw a card. Oh, and look at that, survival knife. At least it's something. You can read the card there for yourself. And because it takes 2 to play it, and it costs a hand, and right now he's only got a magnifying in one hand, so I'm going to have him have the survival knife in his other hand. So it takes 2 resources to play the survival knife. So I'll put that down in this section there. And that was his third action. So now we go enemy phase, but again, still no enemies. That's not going to last much longer. So we can go to the upkeep phase. We can reset the player's tokens. There's no exhausted cards yet. Each investigator gets a resource and a card. So Rex drew deduction. Okay. So I'll put that there. And Agnes draws astral travel, so that could help her travel. So we'll put that in our hand. Now we are at the end of the round sequence. So what that means is now is the time that we want our investigators to use up 6 clues to advance the act. So I don't think it matters. I'll just take 3 from each. 1, 2, 3 from each, 6 clues. And we will advance Act 2. As I said at the end of part 1, I had originally filmed this video as one continuous scenario. However, in editing, I decided to break this up into 3 parts. So this brings us to the end of part 2, and it'll follow the acts here. So that's the end of the second act as well. So we're going to end this at this point, and join me again next time for the third and final part of this scenario, The Gathering, and see if Rex and Agnes can escape this house. So join us next time and come play with Meeples.